State-owned entities also compete with investors, the result of which is that they have in some cases become very controversial. For one, some people argue that the state has no business in the business of running companies and that should be left to the private sector. Others also argue that where the state is both the law of the land and the regulator and the investor, this creates conflict. More importantly, others argue that state-owned enterprises, otherwise known as parastatals in other parts of the world, are just a vehicle for those in political power to enrich themselves. That in regulatory terms, in compliance terms, they are first among equals and don't often get regulated with the same rigor as the private sector. These people argue that the solution is one, either the state refrains entirely from making investments in the private sector, or that if the state is going to do so, there should be a clear separation of roles between the entities of the state that regulate and the entities of the state that manage the investment. Secondly, that it must be clear that state-owned entities are held to the same standards as private investors. That in the absence of this, it is unlikely that state-owned entities will deliver to the publics. That said, it is unlikely in the short term that we will see an end to state-owned entities, because for some, they are a logical conclusion that if the state owns the assets, the state must have the responsibility to manage and develop the resources.